Greetings, Station of Bliss. Here to talk about the integration. So first of all, what are these energies? So masculine and feminine can also be looked at from the Sanskrit. So you have the feminine, which is the Ida principle, which is lunar forces in the body. Um, that is located in the left channel of the spine. And then the Pingala, the right channel, is also known as the masculine, is the solar energies.
Hey.
Quiet. My solar sun energy, just speaking. So when we look at it broken down this way, then we've got the lunar forces, which are receptive, which are the cooler, which are the more introspective, the internal, the creative, all of these components. Those balancing with the solar principles, which are the fire, the dynamic, the active, the outward, the expressive, the aggressor. So we have this push-pull always going on in the body. We always have the outward flowing energy and the inward flowing energy. And it's not really meant that we're only supposed to be one or the other. So if we're only outputting, if we're only using that Pingala, that solar force, then we're eventually draining our battery. So that Ida is the ability to fill up again, to receive, to recharge, to fill up and nurture the reservoir of the self, to fill the battery up, to fill the cup up. So we again have the energy to, put out into the world. We couldn't just breathe out without taking an in-breath. So when we stop looking at these as masculine, feminine energies, because I think that's where some people are like, oh, I don't want to be one or the other. Like it's not really about being more like another gender. If a female is taking on masculine components, I just want to erase that and say, when a female or a male is able to take on both the aggressor and the receiver energy. Now, just because a woman has been more skilled at perhaps in the past at being the receiver, that our reality made it so the woman was more like the quiet, the receiver, the nurture, the childbearer, and even though her body has that capacity, so too does a man need to, at times, simply go within and be intuitive and receive and get the creative download and nurture. Just as the woman also needs to also find that when she's nurtured and she's filled up, that she has a place to pour that energy into a creative project, make something in linear time, in manifestation, to go after something that she loves, or to show up in the world and to follow, her heart after something that she desires. So there's both energies at work all the time. And of course, we have broken them down to right and left brain qualities as well, where we say, okay, you have the very left brain dominant creative mind, or I guess you call it the right brain is the creative mind, and the left brain is the more linear and mathematic and scientific and so forth. And yet, for a person to be functioning at the total human capacity, we must admit that we have access to both of these faculties. That we can't just say, oh, I'm not a creative person, I'm a mathematician or I'm a computer programmer. And we can't just say, oh, I'm a creative person, I can't think in numbers, like that. We have to be open to the fact that we actually can access both. And maybe it's in small ways over here, like maybe we're good at measuring out, ingredients for a recipe, and that's an art form, but it's also got the, mathematics involved. And that we begin to find that both of these expressions live in us, and we start to embrace and accept that we are, by our very nature, designed to have both the Ida and the Pingala, the lunar and the solar forces, the Ha and the Tha of Hatha Yoga, which literally means the sun and the moon. that balance within us. And when we embrace that that is true, that is where we're accessing full present moment power and access to our whole energy system, all the energy of present moment, which makes us more powerful creators.
Help. I need them.
Okay. So, my little guy needs some help. All you have to do when that happens is just go back over here and click on this page so you see only that. So, he's learning how to work his tech as well. So when we balance and understand that we have balance within, then we do change the world because our perspective changes things. So when we realize we have balance within, we then start seeing the balance in our world. We start seeing that, hey, actually there are both dynamics playing out. There are both men and women in power. We are starting to see a change in the tides of that even in the larger systems. But we can also begin to see and honor that those things have always existed. And as we bring that balance more fully in us, it actually does show itself more and more in our environment. And we actually jump into the reality where that's more and more true, that the balance is experienced. I'm a big proponent of the idea of multiple realities happening, that any reality that we align to is the one we experience. So when we experience balance within, we jump into the version of reality where balance is experienced. In the forces of genders, in the creative versus, the very mechanical, I call it the organic and the mechanical worlds starting to work together, where we honor the technology, technological advances that we have that even allow me to do this video right now from my bedroom floor on a phone, which couldn't be done, many years ago, not even that many. And also the organic development of our relationship with nature and the evolution of the planet and the way that we are learning to harmonize ourselves with nature. Now, some would say, oh, like the world is in this great, falling apart place. It's a travesty that what we've done to the planet, and how are we going to correct this, and our poor children and everything. But again, I believe as we jump into a place of internal balance and we see and know that balance to be true within us, then there really isn't anything but the evolution occurring outside of us to line up with and match our internal experience as well. So then we know that the earth is just as resilient, if not more so than us. That she also is evolving and balancing, that it is also being reflected in nature, what is happening within us. And then we have nothing to fear. We are simply all going through this evolutionary journey together and seeing how this inner understanding of balance and wholeness can be reflected in the world around us. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you again.